Alrighty, hello everybody, and welcome back to the North American Mania Tournament 2023. We're rolling right along this round of 16 weekend. Took a bit of a longer break than some were anticipating. I gotta love it when players can't show up to their matches for whatever reason. But I digress. We roll right along with the next planned match. It is going to be Era Jungle taking on Holo the Wise. And this is, I believe, the second losers bracket match we have had on stream. So a lot on the line for these two players as they try and make their way through this round of 16 weekend. Whoever wins here is not done. Gonna have a second match probably tomorrow to see if they can punch their ticket into the quarterfinals. As always, my name is Sparky, and I am going to be doing a bit of a solo job here today for this particular match. And as we can see in the lobby chat, we have finished the warm-ups. We are now into the rolls and those protects, and it looks like LN1 is going to be the protect for Holo the Wise and Hybrid 2 the protect for Jungle, and both players looking like they're going to get rid of the bottom half of the Rice pool. So Rice 5 and Rice 6 not going to be available for either player, understandably so. I believe these two are more LN oriented, so probably going to want to stick to this lower half, duke it out there to see if they can eke out some points and some break points to try and avoid that tiebreaker. So with that being said, the first pick is now officially on the board. It is going to be Lancelot on behalf of Holo the Wise. To start this off, a reminder to everybody that is watching, this is best of 9. First player to 5 points. We're moving on to the second half of round of 16 weekend. Loser will be eliminated. And as we begin this first LN chart, take stock of the situation, about 2,000 points difference. I want to say that's a client miss from Holo the Wise, but I don't see the combo count recovering, and it looks like that is going to be an organic miss. First drop does go to the side of the blue team as they drop down into that 98% range. A pretty significant drop in accuracy going to have in Jungle. About 1% to work with of a cushion in terms of accuracy, and starting to run away with the score lead just a little bit as we make our way into the second quarter of the chart. That being said, a couple of 200s to start this section off. Gotta watch these simpler releases before you get back into the 1/4 streams. It's usually where players start to find their drops because they're trying to focus on the stream patterns in between some of these 1/2, 1/4. That being said, just a minor blip on the radar as Jungle starts to climb back up into that 99.7 range, going into the back half of the chart. The first real break for either of these players, and Holo doing very well to get back up over that 400 combo cap and up over that 99% mark as well, up into the 99.3 range, but it's still 0.4% and a miss in the back pocket for Jungle to work with here as we make our way into the last third of the chart. And as the players read their way through arguably the densest part of the chart, things start to calm down just a little bit here. A couple more streams to read through. All these 1/2 anchors really start to wear away at you, especially with the things you have to do on the Era 3 columns, but both players navigate very well. It was just by virtue of that first miss very early on from Holo. Jungle does finally find a drop, but I think the damage has been done. There's not a lot of chart left to read through, but it does make the score gap a little bit closer. And Jungle takes the first break point in this match to make it 1-0 now. Very well played by both players here. Unfortunate for Holo to pick up that first break very early on, kind of set the tone for the rest of the chart. Jungle did eventually find the break, unfortunate to find the choke at the very end, but able to hold on for long enough to avert any potential swings in the scoreline. And they're going to go for Rice 1 here. So Image Material going to be the first pick for Jungle, venturing away from that lower half of the map pool, getting into a bit of a speed test. Alrighty, so getting into this one of the shorter maps in the pool at that 1 minute 40 mark. And this introduction, just a bit of a primer before they jump right on into these streams. Right now, Jungle holding on to the accuracy advantage. Holo not too far behind here. Starting to climb back up into that 99.5 mark, but it is 0.3% between the two players. More than catching distance, however, singular misses on a map this short can prove to lead to some very wild swings in the scoreline. And now Jungle starting to find a bit of an accuracy drop of their own down into that 99.4 range and within striking distance for Holo to catch up on. But as we transition into a bit of a break section here, Holo to pick up a couple of 200s to bring him back down into that 99.2 range. So advantage still the way of Jungle for the moment. Last over the chart left to go. Still got to be able to read through these streams. Neither player has found a drop just yet, but the damage is being done. Rushes to 300s here and there, proving to provide the swings for the moment. Nobody finding the miss, but as I say that, Holo does finally find a drop on the transition. The jumps a little bit too much for them to read through, and another one to boot, and that's going to hand a lead, a pretty significant lead over to Jungle. It's looking a little bit dicey there towards the middle portion of the map, but Jungle pulls it out in the end and capitalizes on that break point to make it 2-0 now. Holo wasting no time going into LN2 here, so Exile going to be their next pick to try and find an avenue into this match. Lancelot didn't work, but this one definitely an order of magnitude harder in terms of overall map structure, especially towards the ending. Alrighty, so it looks like the players are ready. We're going to get into this third map of this best of 9. See if Holo can pick up a first point here, or Jungle can take that second break point to really push the advantage in this match. And as it stands for the moment, the closest these two have been by a pretty decent margin, 500% separating the two players, and there's just plenty of room for the accuracies to swing, especially since they're going to be hovering in this 99.7 range for, I would imagine, a pretty decent chunk of time. These little bursts in between these anchors, prime spots to pick up 200s. We see Jungle picking up a couple, dropping them down to that low 99.7 mark. Does bring Holo back into this, but they're making it through with a bit of damage as well. Down to the 99.6 is going to extend this lead for Jungle by about a 10th, and trying to keep the momentum here through reading all of this is going to be the true test between these two players. And Holo's going to be the first one to blink as we make our way into the last third of the chart. Going to hand another cushion for Jungle to work with. We've seen it throughout this match so far, where Jungle just seems to have the consistency edge over Holo in this match. So gonna be up to Jungle to maintain this consistency, still holding on to the FC on this map, but as I was saying, this ending does lend itself to choking, especially as the shields start to appear. But Jungle finds a drop and Holo trades it back, unable to capitalize on the opportunity. No harm, no foul at the end of the day, but that was a wild swing that was averted, and Holo finds another drop, and that will do it. Pretty chaotic ending to a pretty chaotic map in general, and Jungle finds their second breakpoint to make it 3-0. Alrighty, and looks like jungle's gonna go for hybrid 2 here, so been very interesting so far this week, and a pretty balanced spread of hybrid picks for the players, no one in particular being picked above all else. But it will be Puberty Dysthymia for jungle to try and make it a match point situation. Alrighty, so as we make our way through this introduction, it's actually going to be Holo the Wise picking up a bit of an accuracy lead. Does find a bit of damage through some of these bursts. Gonna lose a lead, but it is swinging back and forth between these two players through this first quarter of the chart. And as things start to settle down, jungle starts to pick up their lead. See if they can maintain this every 200. Doing significant damage to both players at the moment, keeping it relatively close as we make our way into the second third of the chart. As we continue, jungle finding the first drop, gonna hand the lead over to Holo now. The first lead that they've had, first opportunity for them to really take a lead and run with it, holding on to the FC here and starting to grow this lead as jungle starts to try and make their way back up with that 400 combo cap. They do still have the accuracy advantage. It was a relatively clean drop, so you imagine they're going to start to chip away at this lead. And sure enough, as soon as they cross over, that lead immediately starting to trend over to the left hand side. It is going to be up to Holo to maintain this accuracy that they have built up. It takes about 2 to 3/10% to overcome a singular miss, and right now that is going to be the margin, but it's always going to be in Holo's court to try and take this lead back. It's going to be up to them to increase their accuracy up over that 99.4 mark, but as these last couple of jump stream patterns start to come through, they're not going to be able to hang on to it, and despite the singular drop in the run, jungle actually going to be able to take the point back and capitalize to make it a match point situation 4-0. And it looks like we're going to finish out the LN side of the pool. It is going to be 3 up, 3 down for Holo. It's going to be Blue Rose to try and notch a point on the board, stave off the sweep here, and stave off elimination. Alrighty, so both players are ready. Okay, get into the more release-oriented chart in the LN pool. One of the longest ones in the map pool in general, barring the tiebreaker as well. Bit of a concentration test more so than it is a test of physicality. And we've seen some pretty wild swings in scores on this one as well. The inherent jacky nature of it. Prime material for breaks to come through, and right now jungle not faring too well through this introduction, down to that 99.4 range, picking up a couple of early releases as they try and coordinate some of those interesting releases. Holo faring quite a bit better, 99.7 for them as we make our way into the second quarter of the map. And as we make our way through, Holo is going to pick up a couple of 200s, a couple of late releases as they try and maintain the pace on this chart. Down into the 99.6 range, Jungle starting to climb back up, about a 10th of a percent separating these two players, but it is a lead for Holo as things stand. Both players still on their FC runs. And making our way into the back half of the chart. Jungle actually may find the first drop, and that's going to be a pretty significant one halfway through the chart. Holo already picking up their 400 combo cap bonus, so going to be able to extend this lead just a little bit as Jungle tries to recover. And with this one not being as dense as some of the other LN charts, getting back up with that 400 combo cap is going to take a little bit of effort, finally making it through. But we're already into the last third of the chart. The lead has extended to about 0.3 of a percent, including that slider break. So a bit of a cushion now for Holo to work with. They had an opportunity in that last hybrid chart, but didn't have the accuracy to overcome the drop from Jungle, but now the shoe is on the other foot, and Jungle finding another drop on the transition into the last quarter of the chart. And the lead is now about 15,000 points and change. Very good run overall from Holo here, 99.5 for them. Jungle into that 99.2 range, but the damage has already been done. It would take a significant drop from Holo to hand this lead back up over to Jungle, so gonna be able to stave off that sweep and potentially starting a bit of a comeback here, but it is going to be bit of a precarious road to navigate through that will do it for the LN charts in the pool. And Holo picks up their first point to make it 4-1. And Jungle gonna go right into Zephyrant's. No hesitation, they know what they need to do to try and close this match out. And now this map going to be a bit of a speed test for both of these players up into that 215 BPM mark. Pretty straightforward jump stream with a couple of hands thrown in just for good measure. A couple of bursts as well to keep you on your toes, but already making our way through this first quarter of the chart. Nothing really separating these two players. Holo down to that 99.6 range. Gonna be able to climb back up into the 99.7s. Jungle falling down from their perch into the 99.7s as well. Gotta be careful to avoid finding any significant accuracy drops as this map starts to go. We're already a third of the way through, and that lead has extended to about 0.2%, and Holo going to be finding a significant drop into the transition, into the break, down into the 98% range. And this is the cushion the Jungle needed to try and close this match out. Still in that 99.8 mark. So as we build right back up into the last third, the streams become basically unending till the end. Holo doing well to climb back up into the 99.2 mark, but damage has already been done. A couple of 200s being dropped by Jungle, but Holo's going to be finding the break in return. Oh, but that being said, Jungle does find a drop here. But there isn't any combo on the side of Holo, and that break is going to stave off any potential advances. But Jungle is actually starting to alter a little bit here towards the end. Bit of a stamina battle between these two. I think both of them are reaching their end, their limits. And that last quad going to do the final drop for Holo. And as this map comes to an end, it will be Jungle punching their ticket into the second half of round of 16 weekend and eliminating Holo the Wise from the North American Mania tournament. Congratulations to Jungle, taking it by a score of 5-1. Alrighty, so with that match out of the way, there is one that's going to happen at the bottom of the hour. It will be PeachMarrow taking on Minwoo3098. That will be happening in about 2 minutes. So definitely stick around for that. I'm not sure if we're going to bring the stream down to make sure everybody's in place for that one, but after that, at the top of the hour, we're going to have a doubleheader between Sky and Lycanroc and Maxtulini and Imperial. So definitely a lot to look forward to. This block does not end until 3 UTC. So if you are just joining us, strap in because there is plenty more to come. Alrighty, and rolling right along with this block of matches, we are back with the aforementioned PeachMarrow and Minwoo3098. Just going through the warm-ups. Looks like this one a bit more on the funny side. Gotta love these core jack dump maps that people seem to just really enjoy playing. For the life of me, do not understand why people put themselves through this, but it's a good way to get yourself warmed up, get the fingers primed and ready for what is to come, get the nerves out as well, because you're playing something ridiculous, you kind of make light of the situation and makes the nerves go away in some instances, so... It does bear mentioning this is a winner's bracket matchup, so not a lot on the line for these two players. Who's going to drop down into the lower bracket if you do find yourself on the losing end of this match. Both of these players very evenly matched, I would imagine, just given the nature of this round. A lot of parity between skill sets and stuff like that, so should expect a pretty decent show from both of these two. And as we wait for either the next warm-up or the rolls to begin, I will be joined in the commentary booth for this one by none other than Sunapple. Sunapple, how you doing?
Hello, hello. I'm doing quite well. I'm really excited to see this match. PeachMarrow has been an up-and-coming player. Recently, I saw them doing during qualifiers, and I was kind of impressed because like PeachMarrow hasn't really played many tournaments, and actually getting seed 4 is really, really good. But so has Minwoo. Minwoo's actually been able to continue in this winner's bracket run, which has been actually quite difficult in this tournament, just because there have been so many stacked players on the just like in the winners bracket over like round of 64, round of 32, and obviously here with this match it's going to be very difficult for either of these players to like easily get points, I feel.
Yeah, for sure. It's probably going to be a lot closer of a matchup than some might be expecting, just by nature of the fact that these two don't really have a lot of information on them in terms of what they particularly enjoy going for. And looks like we are going to get the rolls out here. PeachMarrow rolling at 5 and Minwoo responding with the 30. So I think 30 is higher than 5, so they will win the roll.
Something like that. Most likely going to opt. I think for as of recently, we've been seeing a lot of, I guess, newer tournament players opting to first ban. So that's obviously one of the choices that Minwoo is going to be able to pick. However, I feel like first protect is just generally the better option in my head, unless you're like not sure what you want to protect, and maybe different situations come up. Everyone has their own choices. And actually, we will be seeing the first protect here, and Minwoo is going to be protecting Ro16, and that is going to be our tech map, Inferno Fall map.
Very nice. We've already seen some pretty intense battles on that map in particular. Seeing our first streamed match going to, what, 9 300s of a difference between the two players. And it looks like PeachMarrow going to protect Lancelot in response, so might be seeing a bit of a LN versus Rice dichotomy begin to develop between these two players.
Oh yes,
see what the ban is.
Yes, definitely. PeachMarrow has been looking really, really good on those LNs, and Minwoo has also been doing well on the Rice side. And here we see PeachMarrow opting to ban Rice for Hell here in my arms. So quite a dumpy map that we won't be able to see. I think that's one of the more physical maps in the pool, besides maybe like Rice 1 or like the Rice 3. And now we're going to be seeing Minwoo's ban, opting to ban the release-based map Blue Rose, LN1.
Yeah, I think that will probably be the popular ban for some of the, I don't want to say less skill, but basically less comfortable on LN players. Very much a release-oriented map and a lot to coordinate at times, so better to just get rid of it and try and do your best on the more physically demanding ones, because when you get into the faster BPMs, those shorter LNs, you can kind of get away with playing them like Rice, so lesser of all three evils there.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing, that Blue Rose was going to get the ban hammer more and more, but actually I think this is one of the first times Blue Rose has been banned this. Even though we haven't had too many matches, this is the first time I think it's been banned. But with that being said, we will now be going on to the actual match. Minwoo's first pick is going to be on Edge.
Very nice, very understandable. Basically, I don't want to say a tech map on the same level as Rice 6, but kind of lends itself to that sort of like mixed Rice patterning, not something as straightforward as like Image Material or Zephyrance. So pretty interesting start for these two. Looks like they are ready. We're gonna get into this first map of this best of 9. As I was saying, winner will be advancing to the quarterfinals. Loser not eliminated just yet, just will be dropping down into that lower bracket.
Yes, that is definitely true, and here going in, this map is very, very bursty, so be sure to look at those bursts. Make sure neither of these players take any misses on them. But other than those bursts, most of this map is fairly simple, so it could become an accuracy check for some of these players, for either of these players.
yeah, this introduction, a bit of an appetizer for what is to come before the density really starts to make its appearance. Those awkward snapped bursts can't really play them like straight 1/4, 1/8. They do definitely start to vary in terms of how tight they are, and if you're not paying too close attention, that's really where you're gonna start finding those accuracy drops. So we can already see a bit of a discrepancy between the two of them. PeachMarrow down by about a tenth of a percent on Minwoo. Minwoo taking the lead for the moment as we make our way into the back half of the chart here.
Yeah, I believe PeachMarrow did take a 200 on one of those shorter LNs at the start of the burst. But other than that, they've both been playing this super well. It's just that Minwoo's been able to just consistently hold this high accuracy here. And we're halfway through the map. Misses can definitely switch over the lead to either side easily. But it's both of these players look so consistent on this. I doubt that's going to happen here.
Yeah, for sure. PeachMarrow starting to climb just a little bit, does find maybe a singular 200 to bring him down below that 99.7 mark, but Minwoo taking damage as well, dropping down below the 99.8, so still within a tenth of a percent, still catchable as we make our way into the last level of the chart. There are a couple of tricky bursts to try and read through, so definitely not out of the woods just yet. If you are Minwoo, definitely need to keep up this consistency if you want to try and take this first point. And as this map comes to an end, PeachMarrow actually be finding a bit of a rush on one of these bursts. You see that UR bar trickling towards the left, and as this chart comes to an end, it will be Minwoo holding on to their first point to make it 1-0.
Yeah, Minwoo played that so well. 200s is absolutely insane. The 991. We did see PeachMarrow hitting a bit early, so that could be a problem in there. But I still think even if PeachMarrow was hitting more centered, Minwoo just would have won based on that 200 count. Since 5 to 2 200s is quite big.
Yeah, quite big in this context as well. So luckily for PeachMarrow, that was Minwoo's first pick, so always trying to snipe that first break point when all is said and done, and now they can go into something that they're probably more comfortable, accustomed with. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the immediate protect come out in Lancelot. That being said, the hybrids are also on the table to try and go into if you don't really want to get into a bit of a all-rice battle here.
Yeah, LN's is definitely a possibility, but we're actually going to be seeing Hybrid 3, what you were saying. This was sort of on my radar. I was looking more towards Hybrid 2 since a lot of people have been playing that, but this map, Hybrid 2 is very popular to play, so definitely understandable. And it looks like the map isn't loading, so we're going to have a bit of technical difficulties here.
Yeah, we'll try and get the map up and running so you guys can experience the action. The hybrid's always very interesting whenever you do have these all Rice versus all LN players going at it against each other, because you always try and strike that perfect blend of finding the right hybrid to go into, because you don't want to inadvertently put yourself at a disadvantage going into the map and consequently giving your opponent a comfortable map to play through on your pick.
Yes, definitely, and especially just because of how hybrids are generally structured. It's more 50-50, so it's not as easy to choose. But I think we should be getting into the map now, hopefully.
You always gotta love it when the client loves to make its appearance in the best possible ways. Of course, the client held together by rubber bands and duct tape, so it does break occasionally.
Yeah, it is truly lovely to always see this client work very often.
100% of the time, breaks every time.
It is pretty impressive, actually, if I'm gonna be honest.
It's amazing we're able to hold any events with how often it has issues, but hopefully we'll be able to get into this first map for PeachMarrow. So I can confirm that they are currently into Purple Bubblegum Machine. I'm just trying to get the map loaded up here. It'll probably be close to the end by the time we are able to pull it up, if we are able to pull it up. And looking ahead at the top of the hour, like I said, this block starts at 18 UTC, does not stop until 3. So in it for the long haul here, especially if you are watching along. Definitely plenty of exciting matches to come. We'll do our best to try and bring you guys the players that haven't been shown on stream, because we do try and give everybody a chance to have a shot at the spotlight. And I think just looking at the distribution, everybody should have a pretty decent shot at being on stream. So if you haven't already and you have a match coming up, look forward to it, because you might be on stream.
Yeah, I think right now we have had almost everyone except for maybe 2 or 3 people getting streams, so it's good to see. And I believe we should be able to get those people this week stream, so be hyped if you haven't been streamed yet. We're trying our best to get as many people streamed as possible, but it's not always easy.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of things get in the way, timing and reschedules, stuff like that. But with that being said, Purple Bubblegum Machine is now officially done. PeachMarrow winning it out by a score of 990,130 to 988,467. Minwoo winning in terms of accuracy, but finding a slider break, a couple hundred notes before the end. So we are tied 1-1 now.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. This Purple Bubblegum is very, very easy to get, like, I guess not necessarily random misses, but like any kind of misses on. Especially just having to transition between the rice and the LNs all over the place. But now we can, sadly we weren't able to see that map, but we will actually be able to see Hybrid 2 Puberty Dysmantha. And actually that is going to be Minwoo's pick. Maybe seeing that they did quite well on hybrids, wanting to take away some hybrid maps from PeachMarrow, which they may want to pick later on. Going for something a bit more risky since it's still decently early on in the match. Or Minwoo just feels super confident on this map. I know I feel like this map is something that a lot of people play well on in practice, but maybe during lobby something bad happens, maybe take too many 300s or just maybe 200s. So I think it's really could be any reason why Minwoo is picking this, but I feel like if they're picking it, they have a reasoning. But with that all being said, we're going into the match. These accuracies are quite tied. PeachMarrow having a slight edge, but that's almost like nothing at this point.
Yeah, only 500% through that opening volley going into the second quarter of the chart. PeachMarrow had a pretty significant lead, but now throwing it away over to the side of Minwoo here. A couple of 200s, gonna hand the lead over as we progress through the chart. Minwoo not trading those 200s back, so gonna be able to hang on to about this 10th of a lead for the moment. PeachMarrow starting to climb back up though.
Yeah, as PeachMarrow continues to hold, or trying their best to continue to increase their act, Minwoo has also been doing the same, sticking to this 99.7 range, and we will be going on to the harder section of the map very soon, so either of these leads can swap at any time. Neither player is messing up on these LN bursts.
No drops just yet, just the occasional 200 being thrown out. And you see the dip in the accuracy, the climbs back up. These players trading back and forth very deep into this chart. About a sliver left to go. 400% separating these two players. And similar to how it was on Purple Bubblegum Machine, it's going to come down to these last couple of notes, a bit of a jump stream, hand stream section, and at the end of the day, watch the releases, and it's going to be Minwoo pulling it out by 600 points.
That is so close. PeachMarrow having a few too many 200s, even though they had the ratio advantage.
Yeah, and the gamble pays off for Minwoo, able to take away one of those hybrids from PeachMarrow. And making it 2-1 now. Very close match on our hands here, and both players seeming to be equally matched when it comes to those hybrid picks.
Yeah, this really has been the case of Minwoo like minimizing their 200 count while having good ratio, but just PeachMarrow being a step ahead on the ratio, but those random 200s really coming in to bite him. And we'll be seeing a Lancelot PeachMarrow's Protect come out.
Yeah, so officially diving into the LM pool. And now this poses an interesting situation. PeachMarrow, arguably the favorite to win on this pick, but there's only Exile and Redline in terms of picks left remaining, so what is going to be that 5th point for PeachMarrow to see themselves over the edge? Going to need to voluntarily pick into Rice or go into that tiebreaker. So, bit of a trail to follow as we progress through this match. Players are ready. We're gonna get into this 4th map of this best of 9. PeachMarrow looking to answer back and make it 2-2.
Yeah, and just on the starting section, PeachMarrow having the accuracy advantage, having a 99.8. Though we saw this in the last match, on PeachMarrow's side. Instead, it's actually flipped. Minwoo having the accuracy disadvantage, but they've been able to continually increase their accuracy slowly but surely. And I still think there's quite a bit of chance for PeachMarrow to maybe drop some act, get some few 200s like they have been in the past few maps, and switching the lead over.
Yeah, it's a very narrow lead. Both players holding on to very high accuracy on a chart like this. PeachMarrow within the 99.8 mark. Minwoo not too far behind, 99.77 for them, within 500%. Gonna be able to capitalize on any potentially dropped 200s from PeachMarrow. This is the fine margins that both these players are walking right now, and it is now starting to close up in rank here. 300% now, the difference between the two players going into the back half of the chart, but we do take a bit of a break, an opportunity for both the players to build up some accuracy before this final part.
I think right now there's less than a 1,000-point lead. Minwoo has been able to recover their accuracy down up to the 99.8. Very close to PeachMarrow, only about 0.5 or 0.5 of a percentage. And here on this last section, PeachMarrow is actually going to be taking the break. Minwoo continuing to hold their combo, and that's really what's going to be helping them. Their accuracy is now slightly above PeachMarrow.
Yeah, and the fact that they were finding this break very late on, only just now getting up by a 400 combo cap, there isn't enough of an accuracy discrepancy for them to try and make some inroads in this lead. So it's up to Minwoo to hold on to this FC run that they have right now. Last level chart left to go. There's still some pretty decently hard bursts to read through, but ultimately, if you were able to make it through the first half, this back half is pretty non-trivial. And as the map comes to an end, it will be Minwoo taking the first break point in this match to make it 1-3.
And a V1SS coming out from Minwoo.
Wow. That is quite the statement from Minwoo to take the point, and they're probably surprised that they V1SS that.
Yeah, I feel like that is like the first V1SS I've seen so far. So even though the ratio was slightly below PeachMarrow, just being able to get a V1SS on that is absolutely insane. The 991 is, oh, that's kind of scary, especially for later players, knowing that someone is good. As Minwoo in Rice capabilities is actually able to hold their own against other really good LN players. But we see Minwoo's pick here going in for hopefully match point here. It's going to be their Protect, Inferno Folmo.
Yeah, no better time to pull out the Protect than taking the breakpoint on your opponent's Protect. A potential opportunity, as you said, to make it a match point situation. So see if Minwoo can capitalize or if PeachMarrow can take that breakpoint back to try and right the ship a little bit here.
I mean, these rice maps have been seeming decently close, so there's definitely a chance for PeachMarrow to retake the breakpoint.
Yeah, and this one being as techy as it is, so many opportunities for the chokes to come out, and right now it is PeachMarrow holding on to a bit of a narrow advantage. Had a bit of a large one, but finding a couple of 200s in response to Minwoo's, I think, rush of 300s, and things start to even out through this introduction. Both players making it through that introduction relatively unscathed, within 0.05% of each other as we make our way into the next third.
Yeah, this has been the tale of this match. Both these players have seen super close accuracies, but PeachMarrow actually taking a miss here, switching the lead over to Minwoo. There's still definitely a chance for PeachMarrow to come back from this, especially in the second half, which gets quite difficult.
Yeah, for that miss, Minwoo traded back some of the accuracy as well. Both of them basically tied in terms of accuracy. It's really just Minwoo riding on that miss from PeachMarrow here as we make our way into the back half of the chart. But Minwoo finds a drop as well, and that was actually pretty significant. Already in the back half, PeachMarrow had recovered from their earlier drop, and they had managed to keep that accuracy relatively intact. Minwoo's drop very dirty by comparison, and finding the slider break as well. You wonder if maybe the nerves might have just been a bit too much for them to handle as things started to calm down, and maybe just letting go of that key. But the damage has already been done. PeachMarrow able to recover very nicely and build up a bit of a healthy cushion going into this ending, already back up with that 99.7 mark.
It was only a slider break, so if PeachMarrow does take a miss or two, I think it is still possible for Minwoo to come back, but there's so little time left. As long as PeachMarrow is able to hold on to this combo, they should be able to take the breakpoint back.
Oh my goodness, what a turn of events in this match. Minwoo taking the breakpoint on Lancelot. PeachMarrow's protect, and PeachMarrow taking the breakpoint back from Minwoo on Minwoo's protect. That just goes to show you that nothing is safe in matches like this, and PeachMarrow now the opportunity to equalize here.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, maybe you want to like switch your choice of maps if you're either player. Minwoo may want to be going for this exile pick, since he did see you won Lancelot by quite a bit based on 200 count and stuff. And yet, actually, this is PeachMarrow's pick. So yeah, PeachMarrow going to continue on to these LN slots. And we'll see whether PeachMarrow is going to be able to get back to tied here, make it a best-of-3 situation, or if Minwoo will be able to take a third break point and make it match point, putting PeachMarrow on the back burner. Looks like both players are ready.
This is such a risky pick. We've already seen it's very hard for both players to make it through this map unscathed. We have seen FC runs, but getting a double FC has been a bit of a tall order so far this week, and that ending definitely taking quite a couple players' numbers.
Yeah, this map starts and exponentially gets more and more difficult. So I hope we see 2 FCs. That would be really interesting. But I feel like so far, just throughout there's a high chance that misses are going to be happening in this map from either player.
Yeah, making it through this introduction pretty hard, but not the hardest thing in the world. Some of the staggered releases might be damaging the accuracy, but both players actually making it over that 400 combo cap relatively unscathed and virtually tied once again. There is very little separating these two, as to be expected as we start to get further and further along this winner's bracket. A lot of very evenly matched players coming down to the slimmest of margins between the two of them. Minwoo finding a bit of damage going into the back half of the chart, down to the 99.6 range. PeachMarrow not too far behind, 99.71 for them. Definitely not a lot to rest on in terms of an advantage. Can easily swing either way.
Both of these players have been slowly and surely losing some accuracy as the map goes on. PeachMarrow, though, has been able to stay a slight bit above, but this ending is really what's going to be all. Only a fourth of the map left. We see the trills come out. Neither of these players messing up on these really heavy coordination sections. And as I'm saying that, Minwoo is actually going to be the first one to drop.
Yeah, an unfortunate slider break on the transition. Gonna hand PeachMarrow a bit of a lead to work with, about a 0.1%. And it looks like the coordination might be a little bit too much for Minwoo to handle. The straw that broke the camel's back here at the very end of the chart. We're not even at the reverse shield section yet. Starting to come through here, and like we were saying at the top of this chart, it is very hard for two players to make it through relatively unscathed, and PeachMarrow actually pulling off the FC to make it 3-3 now. We are now essentially in a best of 3.
Ooh, this is so interesting. I believe there's only one hybrid map and one more and rice maps left. So Minwoo has quite a bit of options to choose from, whereas PeachMarrow most likely is just going to go for that hybrid one. But it is still Minwoo's choice right now. I would say something a bit more techy, since you've been seeing that you've been doing quite well, and if you're able to FC that, then you have a chance of you have a high chance of taking a point. So maybe something like Rice 3, or if you're feeling comfortable, you can go Rice 1. But actually, going for the hybrid maps here, going for hybrid 1, red line.
This is a very interesting pick from Minwoo. I actually really like it, because you would imagine that if this wasn't picked, this would probably be PeachMarrow's final pick in this match. So if you can actually take this point away, similar to how it was with Puberty Dysmynthia Hybrid 2, if you can take the point away on the hybrid, you force PeachMarrow into a situation where he has to pick into the rice, and that's where you can really maybe pluck away that final break point to secure the match. Worst case that happens, PeachMarrow wins this and picks a rice map that you have to take the break point on.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely very possible for Minwoo, especially how well they've been doing on the rice maps. But this map is also quite difficult with really weird releases, so it's going to be quite a challenge for either of these players to play it super well, and we've been seeing their accuracies tied basically throughout the entire match. So any misses here is going to cause quite a bit of an issue. Same with 200s actually.
Oh, for sure. Right now, Minwoo not faring too well through this introduction, taking a bit of damage, a couple of early and late releases on these staggers. 99.67 for them. PeachMarrow doing very nicely, 99.8 for them, but not an insurmountable lead by any stretch of the imagination. It is still very close as we make our way into the second quarter of the map.
Yeah, we've seen these leads happen throughout all the matches, but both these players have been able to recover combo in every single case, and we're seeing that now. Minwoo's continuing to recover, going up to this 99.7, while PeachMarrow slightly going down. Another player looking very looking like they're having any trouble on these patterns, though.
And now we approach this second half of the chart. Minwoo able to recover from their earlier drops, now within 400% of PeachMarrow. PeachMarrow needing to take extreme caution in the second half to not find any sort of slip up. This is two very good players pushing each other to the absolute limit. And right now, as we transition into the last third, Minwoo actually going to be finding a couple of 200s on those reverse shields, going into the burst and out back into these short LNs. Both players still holding on to the FCs. You imagine if either of them blinks this late on into the chart and finds a miss, it will spell disaster for their runs and their potential to stave off that tiebreaker. It is currently in PeachMarrow's court, but they're starting to find a couple of 200s in response. Minwoo trades them back, but it is again 500% and closing.
Yeah, as these right sections continue, Minwoo's actually getting the advantage, but I think PeachMarrow's lead is just slightly strong enough, and I don't believe there's anything left in the match. unless PeachMarrow takes a random miss on this ending, I believe they should be able to take this breakpoint.
Oh, and the risk this time does not pay off for Minwoo PeachMarrow actually taking the breakpoint on something that they probably would have picked anyways. Oh, Minwoo had the ratio advantage. It was a singular 50 making the difference.
I think this 50 was in like the middle section where there was a bunch of shorter LNs and LN releases. So maybe that difficulty in LN releases that we saw on Exile came in and actually giving PeachMarrow the point. But now, PeachMarrow is out of picks, really. They have, what, Rice 1, Rice 2. Both of those are quite simple in nature, I guess. And then Rice 3, a more techie map, or more like dumpy map. So I was kind of thinking Rice 1 in my head, just because maybe you want to go for a more simpler map, going for that ratio advantage that you have been seeing throughout some of the earlier picks. But it's kind of difficult because you did see you had the ratio disadvantage on red line, so it is going to be interesting to see. I feel like this map is quite easy for both of these players since they should be above the physicality of this map, but still, misses can definitely happen, as we have been seeing on all these maps.
This is similar to how Redline went for Minwoo. This is a very risky pick for PeachMarrow. PeachMarrow actually pushed into a bit of a corner, out of LNs, out of hybrids to pick. So if anything, this is playing into Minwoo's hand. It is a minute and 41 seconds separating us from potentially the end of the match or the tiebreaker.
I believe in the tiebreaker here. I believe Minwoo is going to be able to take this breakpoint. Possibly off of a miss. I'm gonna predict the future here.
Oh my goodness. Calling their shot. Let's see if it comes to fruition. These streams are, for these players, probably simple to read through, but when you have the nerves of playing through this match for as long as you have, any singular miss could, or not even a miss, just any singular 200 feels like the end of the world. And as we make our way into the second third of the chart, already they are within 300% of each other. This has been the tale of the tape so far between these two players. Just inseparable at times, virtually neck and neck when it comes to their performances, regardless of the style of chart. Very well balanced overall. Sure, a couple of hints in the armor, but ultimately very strong players overall. And right now, as we make our way into the first real break of the song, diving back into the streams, it is still PeachMarrow ahead by the slimmest of margins. Minwoo able to keep pace here within 700% within striking distance. A singular 200 from PeachMarrow could swing things in just an instant by sheer nature of the fact that this map is so short. But it's Minwoo taking the damage here down into the 99.7 range. It is a 10% now. PeachMarrow is starting to run away with it a little bit as Minwoo is starting to fall here. It is 0.2% now, and I think PeachMarrow has done just enough. The gamble has paid off on Rice 1, and as the chart comes to an end, PeachMarrow staves off the tiebreaker, staves off the upset as well, and takes the match 5-3. A V1 double S to close it out when it was needed the most.
Yes, that ending stream really throwing Minwoo off guard. I believe they got a few 200s just on that alone, and I feel like that's very understandable, especially after playing streams for basically a minute 40 straight. It's really, really difficult to just continuing to hold on to like concentration, and especially how dense it is. But with that being said, PeachMarrow is going to be moving on in the winners bracket. And in the losers bracket is going to be Minwoo, but I feel like that's going to be a very, very scary opponent for anyone, basically.
Oh, for sure. Another shark in the water in the lower bracket. Definitely do not want to face off against them. And with that being said, this block continues rolling on. We are now in the 19 UTC hour. We have another doubleheader here. The one not shown on stream is going to be Maxtulini taking on Imperial, and the other will be Sky taking on Lycanroc.
Yes, and we will be moving on to that right now here. I think they're just getting through warm-ups.
Yeah, it looks like just needing to be ad ref, you imagine, but
Yes, there we
we'll
go.
be getting in here. And we'll be getting the players situated on screen correctly.
Yeah, I believe the laser client is actually wrong here, so let me go ahead and switch that up. We will be going into this match very, very soon. It is just warm-ups though, so hopefully this match is going to be very similar to the last one. Super, super interesting to watch. I'm really happy that we were able to get these ones on stream. And actually, a bit of a fun fact here. Lycanroc still hasn't been streamed yet, so it's going to be their stream debut here.
Fantastic, you'd love to see it. And as we make our way through this match, this is going to be a pretty interesting one in particular. Sky really has been coming into their own in terms of becoming a very well-rounded tournament player, making their debut on the US 40M roster this past year. And Lycanroc, not as much of a tournament player, but definitely a very physical Rice player in their own right. So it'd be very interesting to see how they handle somebody with the skill sets that Sky has, able to handle the hybrids and LNs very well, and definitely no slouch on the Rice.
Yeah, I think right now this is going to be a bit of a Rice versus LN match here, since Lycanroc being quite well known for having really good physicality here, but struggling a slight bit more on this coordination, so I wouldn't be surprised if Sky is going to be sticking onto this lower half of the pool, most likely protecting Blue Rose here.
Yeah, I can see something like that, and this one is actually a losers bracket match, so one of these two players will be saying goodbye to one of these two players before too long, and it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top. Once again, for those of you just joining us, first of all, welcome. And we are in a best of 9 format. First player to 5 points will be seeing themselves through to the second half of round of 16 weekend. So definitely a lot to play for here.
Yes, and be sure to watch the other matches that have had happened. Yes, I can speak English. I'm very well known for that. But yeah, the previous matches have been super, super intense, especially Halogen versus Walmart. I would say that's one of the highlights, as well as the last match, Minwoo versus PeachMarrow. I think those are going to be very difficult matches to, I guess, hype up or be more hyped than that.
Yeah, for sure. Very high intensity matches. And of course, if you do miss them, you can always catch the VODs here on the Twitch channel, but we also do have the YouTube channel where we're uploading the VODs of the matches to keep them as an archive, because God knows where this website's gonna be in the next couple of years.
Truly, and also I don't think we have the permission to continue to keep these VODs on this account, since this is technically the standard account.
That's fair. Who plays standard?
True, like literally no.
Literally nobody. Dead game mode, by the way.
But that is going to be the first warm-up finished.
The first and only one.
Ooh, is it now? I see. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I love skipping the formalities.
That is nice, always. And here we'll be going on to the roll. Sky rolling a solid 17. High chance of that getting beaten, but we never know. I think PeachMarrow last round rolled a 5, so we can definitely see low rolls come in every so often.
It's what, a 1 in 16 chance? Oh no, it's 50-50. Every roll is 50-50. You either beat the person or you don't.
That is an optimistic way of thinking about it. And looks like Lycanroc won the 50-50.
Alrighty, so Lycanroc gonna be getting the option of first protect or first ban, and they're gonna go for protect here, so standard fare with regards to how players decide to go about this, and I wouldn't be surprised if something like Here in My Arms gets protected. Something a little bit more straightforward, like Zephyrant and Image Material also on the table. Maybe wanting to stray away from the tech just a little bit, but remains to be seen. The entirety of the rice pool is very much in their wheelhouse. It's just a matter of which one you're most comfortable with.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the Here My Arms Protect. Well, actually, we'll be seeing Image Material, a very, very popular map in this map pool. Maybe it's because it's iconic. Maybe it's because it's a decently simple map for people to play and they feel confident on it.
And it's very short.
Yes, and it's very short, so anything can really happen, though, just because of how short it is.
For sure. So Sky up to protect now. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw any of the LNs getting protected. Best bet, probably Blue Rose, just to really make Lycanroc uncomfortable with the release element.
Yeah, it's either Blue Rose or Lancelot, maybe trying to stray away as much as possible from Exile, maybe not wanting to play some of those reverse shields, and just that ending in general. And we will be seeing Lancelot protected, maybe Bancho ate a message, I think. Yes.
Yeah, it looks like Bancho ate the message, so will be LN3 coming out here for the protects, and we're going to see the ban come out. Could see something like Subterranean Blastoff or Inferno. I mean, to be fair, the Rice 3 through 6, pretty prime candidates, and it will be Inferno. So Rice 6 getting eliminated from the map pool, not going to be played here. And now for Lycanroc to ban, I imagine either the just 50-50, which one do you want to play less?
Yeah, I would assume Blue Rose here, maybe not wanting to play a longer map, but also Exile could be the case, maybe having difficulty reading the density in that map, and we will actually be seeing Blue Rose here.
Yeah, unsurprising there in that regard. But with that being said, we will be getting into the first pick of this match.
Yes, and it is going to be Lycanroc's pick, so I would assume we're going to stay in this upper half of the map pool, maybe going for something on edge. I think on edge has been very popular as a first pick, just because of how, just because of how the map is structured. It's very, very bursty, so you want to stay on your A game, and you'll most likely be staying on your A game at the start of the match. And yes, actually, I'm right.
It's almost as though we know some of the player tendencies after watching them for a couple of weeks.
Almost.
Almost. To be fair, actually, Lycanroc first time on stream, so I think just by nature of the chart as you were describing, it's very very diverse in structure. It doesn't really put you to sleep, and it does lend itself to being a very nice opener, very interesting song throughout.
Yes, definitely true. One of my personal favorites, most likely because I have some previous experience with it. But
I think I was gonna say I think Sky might actually have some experience with this chart as well. This one was used in, I believe, Violet Mania Tournament, the 2nd edition.
I believe so. So maybe Lycanroc has some information. I doubt it. I doubt Lycanroc has any information on that, just because that was a while ago and kind of niche. But Sky definitely knows this map quite well. But we'll be going on to the map. We'll be seeing who will be able to take the first point in this match. And also keep in mind, as we said, or I believe as Sparky said earlier, this is going to be a loser's bracket match, so whoever loses 5 points first is going to be eliminated from the tournament. And starting off in this, I guess, more accuracy-based section, a bit simpler than the rest of the map. Sky having it the lead, Lycanroc struggling a bit more on accuracy, but it's closing very, very quickly as the maps gets more and more dense.
Yeah, a lot of 200s being traded back and forth. Lycanroc actually faring a little bit more worse for wear. Finding the first drop overall. Sky had traded back some of the 200s, but that miss is going to help buoy their lead. Just for the moment, they are basically neck and neck in terms of overall accuracy, hovering around that 99.1 mark, and that's going to make it very interesting going into the back half of the chart. If Lycanroc can start to build up some accuracy, it could potentially start to take this lead back from Sky despite the miss.
Yeah, or Sky can still take a miss in the second half. There's quite a big section of just constant bursts in the later half, and we're already seeing it. Sky dropping down in accuracy while Lycanroc has been able to continue to increase theirs. This lead is slightly going in favor of Sky, but as I'm saying, this Lycanroc having a very, very dirty miss.
Yeah, it looked like it might have been something like a lag spike or something, just a number of misses here at the very later end of the chart, but it will only help Sky cushion their advantage, and it looks like the first break point of this match is going to come very early, and it's going to go the way of Sky, and making it 1-0.
Interesting to see. I hope that was just a lag spike coming in from Lycanroc. Hopefully it wasn't a keyboard issue, since those are a lot more difficult to deal with, I feel.
Yeah, for sure, but with that being said, I mean, got to be able to pull it through till the end. Ah, the keycaps came off the keyboard.
Why is that not the first time I've heard that?
It is, I mean, you hammer at your keys for so long, it is unsurprising that they get worn away to literally nothing. So hopefully they can change their keybinds, find something a little more comfortable to play on, and thankfully it's nothing hard to diagnose. That's a pretty easy fix overall. So with that being said, Sky's gonna go straight into their protect of Lancelot.
Ooh, interesting to see. Also, I do just want to add the other match, Maxtulini versus, let me see, Maxtulini versus Imperial is actually being streamed on Maxtulini's account, so be sure to watch that if you're interested in that. We most likely won't be moving on to it if this match ends early, but I highly doubt this match is going to end early. I feel like this is going to be quite a close one. But we go into Lancelot here, more of an LN map. Lycanroc was talking about how they weren't too much of a fan of LN here. And actually, as I'm talking about the other match is also playing this map.
Great minds think alike. This is a very popular song, a very friendly LN chart in the context of this round. Unsurprising that a lot of players are picking into this one compared to the other ones. But with that being said, we will get the second map underway, a chance for Sky to capitalize on that breakpoint that they got.
Yeah, and Sky here holding a really good accuracy on this early section. Lycanroc struggling a bit more, but these leads are still decent. They're not too far off, only about a tenth of a percentage different here.
Yeah, Sky was holding on to that 99.7, but that Rice burst leading into the transition through this first quarter of the chart does catch them out a little bit. Able to hold on to the combo with Lycanroc finding the first break here and dropping down into that 98% range. It's very easy to find a bit of a slip up through some of these sections. A couple of bad releases can start to chain into more and really start to do some significant damage as Lycanroc finds another couple of slider breaks here going into the back half of the chart. Sky still holding on to the FC here, but down into that 99.3 range, enough for the moment to hold off any potential advances.
Yes, and halfway through the map, I think, I feel like there's still a chance for Lycanroc to come back if Sky takes a few misses on the ending section, maybe misreading a pattern. But Lycanroc is definitely going to have to continue to hold their combo as much as possible, and as I'm saying, this slider break comes out from, I believe, early release.
Yeah, I think that will do it. I think Sky can afford to find a couple of breaks here, but I don't think they have any intentions of finding any breaks. A couple of 200s coming out through these denser releases, and Lycanroc finding another break might spell the final nail in the coffin for this map. Last quarter of the chart left to go. There's really not a lot left to read through. If you can make it through that intro, this ending is basically more of the same, a bit of a reprise and a little bit more dense to read through overall. But when all is said and done,
yes, we will be seeing Sky up 2-0 with that breakpoint in their pocket.
very nice run overall. And it will be Lycanroc's second pick here, an opportunity to maybe right the ship a little bit. Hopefully they don't have keys flying off their keyboard anymore and they can put up a performance to their standard of play.
Yeah, hopefully I will. But it being Lycanroc's pick, they have quite a few maps in the rice category to pick from. Most likely, I would assume going for image material or here in my hands. And yes, image material is going to be the pick. Going for your protect right off the bat. Most players doing that.
Yeah, just something steady to get yourself back into it, something comfortable to read through.
Yep, and as we saw in that last map, the second half of image material is really going to be the difference maker. Just because of the density, I feel like the density increases. I don't know whether that's true. Whenever I play the map, the second half is always so much harder than the first half.
Yeah, I think it just starts to kind of blend together in terms of what you have to read through. A couple more jumps as well, so hopefully it doesn't catch either of these players off guard, and we get a pretty decent show here.
Yep, and in this bit of an accuracy section, Sky having the slight advantage, but this really won't matter in the reality, since we'll now actually be going into the map. Lycanroc hitting quite a bit early on all these streams, needing a bit of a calibration possibly.
Yeah, I think they were just trying to stay ahead of the BPM as they tried to settle in, and right now Sky really pulling away here. 99.7 for them. Does find a couple of 200s as these streams start to come through, and this isn't really Sky's main skill set. They can play it, but the 200s starting to come out, and now the accuracy lead going the way of Lycanroc, able to hold on just that little bit longer despite the fact that that intro was pretty rough for them. But as we get into the calm section, basically missing on air, finding the slider break to give Sky the advantage here, but given the fact that Sky was kind of straining there at the end, once these streams start to come back out. Oh, but that being said, Lycanroc finding a break on the transition into the last quarter of the chart. Sky still holding on for the moment here.
These accuracies are still very, very close considering the two misses from Lycanroc, so if Sky somehow has a misread in this later half, which is very, very possible just off of these like multiple 200s coming up from their side, and actually those amount of 200s may be the reason that Sky loses the point here, and a miss coming out kind of sealing it even with that ending miss from Lycanroc.
Yeah, that was a bit of a war of attrition between the two of them. I think Sky was their limit in terms of BPM they could read through on the streams. A lot of 200 started to come out, and then they finally found the break, and that handed the lead back over to Lycanroc. That being said, the ratios are scarily similar.
Yeah, it was mostly just those 200 counts from both players. So I feel like if you're Lycanroc, you definitely know that these more physical maps are in your favor. So here in my arms, Rice 2 or Rice 3, all are definitely like quite good picks for you. But you will still have to get a breakpoint on one of the hybrids or possibly Exile if you want to bring it to TV.
Yeah, it looks like Exile is going to take a bit of a back burner. It's going to be Purple Bubblegum Machine, and hopefully we can get this one loaded up this time. We did fix it in the last match, so hopefully waiting on the map command to come out. And it does load. Fantastic.
Let's go. Yeah, I believe we just needed to, because the map got updated at some point, we just needed to get that fixed up.
Gotta love it when you update the background.
Yes. Very understandable why we did update it though. But
absolutely,
we'll be seeing this map go through quite a huge difficulty in the transitions, very similar to some of the earlier maps in the hybrid pool that we saw, or some of the earlier hybrids that we saw in other pools.
Yeah, right now, strong start for Sky. I think that has been the story of this match so far. Sky able to hold on to the accuracies and kind of banking on that when they do eventually find their drops. And right now, about 0.7% Lycanroc down in that low 99% mark. Sky 99.7 for them as we cross that 400 combo cap going into the second quarter of the chart. Things are going to start to get a lot more dense to read through, see if the players can hold on.
Yes, and this lead isn't actually all too much considering how this map is generally structured. The second half is quite a bit more difficult than this first.
Yeah, we're starting to tighten up in terms of accuracy. 99.6 for Sky, 99.1 for Lycanroc. And I mean, it's been the strategy so far for Sky, but Lycanroc finding the first break. They're in the build-up actually, so back half of the chart still to come. Things are going to start to get a lot more difficult to read through, and finding a drop before it going to be interesting to see if they can make it over that 400 combo cap. A bit more of a rice-oriented section with a bit of LN bursts here and there.
Yes, and as we see the right section come through, Sky struggling a bit more in it, but that miss from Lycanroc definitely keeping Sky's lead in their favor. The accuracy is still on the side of Sky by quite a bit, so I think a miss or two will need to come out from Lycanroc, or from Sky if Lycanroc wants to have a chance of taking this breakpoint. But we're still recording a map left, so definitely a high chance for that to happen. But Sky's consistency throughout this entire match has been super high, so there is a chance that doesn't happen here. And as we're getting closer and closer to the end, it's looking less and less so.
Yeah, for sure. Not a lot of tricks left up this map sleeve, and we're back into a more LN-oriented section, something Sky is very comfortable with. Should be able to stave off any potential misses. I think we're already reaching that point where a miss really wouldn't do that much, but Lycanroc finding the first drop in this section, and it was basically plain sailing from there, and Sky able to make it 3-1 now.
Yes, and it is now Lycanroc's pick. They will most likely be going for this rice pool, maybe something like here in my arms. I feel like that's a very good pick if in Lycanroc's position here. But Sky losing out on, or losing picks quicker and quicker here.
Yeah, for sure. So, oh, it's actually gonna be Subterranean Blastoff coming out here. So, another pretty decently good pick. I think overall the rice pool at this point trending in Lycanroc's favor. Everything else pretty much a physical push map, so can't really get away with something like On Edge anymore. So we'll see how this one plays out.
Oh no. Well, it is not switching over.
So we fixed Bubblegum. We're gonna
fix this map.
Yes, so we'll get that squared away for y'all. And meanwhile, update y'all on the Maxtulini Imperial match. It is currently similar scoreline. Imperial ahead by a score of 3-1 at the moment over Maxtulini. Looks like their route was a little bit different. Inferno of Fomal out the first pick. Imperial winning that one. And then getting the breakpoint on Lancelot. Then Maxtulini answered back with a win on Redline. And Imperial riding the ship once again with a win on Exile. And that is currently the score on the other match. And they're actually going to go into here in my arms in that match.
Ooh, interesting to see. And I believe it should be fixed now, and yes, it is. So as soon as possible, we'll be moving on to the match, and here we go. We're seeing Sky having a slight lead here just on accuracy alone, though we have been seeing this in previous maps. And Sky struggles a bit more on physicality as the map goes on, so maybe we'll lose some stamina later, giving the lead over to Lycanroc.
Yeah, but for right now, these Grace Note, all these flams, transitions, not treating Lycanroc too well. Both players able to hold on to I would imagine would be their full combos, but the actual discrepancy between the two of them about 0.4%. But that being said, starting to close up here once again. 3-10 separating these two players. Lycanroc within striking distance to try and catch up to Sky. As he gets to Sky once again. Oh, as I say that, Lycanroc finding the drop in these long form stream sections, and right in the middle of the chart as well. Gonna do quite a bit of damage overall to their score as these little Majaks start to trip them up once again, trying to climb that hill one more time and get back over that 99% mark. Sky still with a bit of cushion to work with.
Yeah, Sky's actually has gone down slowly and surely, and as I'm saying this, it's still continuing to go down, but those two misses from Lycanroc can definitely, is definitely keeping this lead in their favor, and another one comes out. I doubt we're going to have the same situations we saw in Image Material where Sky messes up a lot on this ending section, but just because of the lead that Sky has been able to hold on to throughout this map. And there's only a slip of the map left, and I believe this will be going into Sky's favor, making it match point on their own point, or on their point to choose.
Yeah, very nice FC when needed. The 200 count, virtually similar, but the ratio between the two of them, Sky actually winning it out pretty cleanly. That is a very respectable score in the context of this match. And like you were saying, it's Sky's next pick, an opportunity to put a bow on proceedings in this match. Pretty much a choice between Redline and Exile. Which one do you want to go for more? I imagine Exile's, strangely enough, the safer pick of the two, but both of them are pretty hard in regards to the LN.
I definitely agree Exile is most likely the safer pick, but I feel like Sky, being not wanting to play these physical maps, will most likely go for Redline, and yes, that is what they go for.
Yeah, I think that ending is enough to scare him off a little bit. Don't want to potentially give away breakpoint and an avenue back into this match for Lycanroc. Probably don't want to play any more Rice charts than they have to, because oh boy, they are very physically demanding, and they do start to wear away at you after a while.
Yes, and also this map is quite release based with a lot of really weird release timings. We saw in the last match, both players were kind of struggling with holding, or being able to hold accuracy on the LN bursts all throughout this map. And now, going into Sky's match point choice. If Lycanroc is able to get this point, it'll be so super good, since they'll have more opportunities to play these Rice maps, maybe draining Sky's stamina more and more, and that may cause some difficulty in the later points. But for now, Sky's still holding super well. Both players struggling a bit more on the LN bursts that come through, but accuracy is actually probably the closest it's been in a while.
Yeah, it's probably one of the more even starts we've seen to a map. Sky still ahead, but not holding on to the lofty accuracy that they've had over Lycanroc here. It's about as close as they have been very early on, within a 0.1% of each other. Both players still holding on to their FCs. It'll be very interesting to see how they make it through, but Lycanroc finding the first couple of drops here. The first LN starting to catch him out here as he drops down into that low 99% mark. And as we make our way through into the back half of the chart, it is Sky once again ahead by virtue of that singular drop and the accuracy.
Yes, and this accuracy is definitely something that we've been seeing throughout this entire match. Sky is having the about 0.2 or 0.2% accuracy lead, but we're actually seeing this lead slowly but surely dip down in favor of Lycanroc, just because Sky has been getting those 200s on these little short LNs, and actually we see Lycanroc having the accuracy advantage and the lead slightly just off of this accuracy alone.
Yeah, a lot of 200s coming out, but Lycanroc finding the drop here. A couple of drops on the anchors traded back by Sky as well. So now we're playing a little bit of a tug of war with this leaderboard going into the last quarter of the chart. They actually starting to even out here. I think we can throw that out the window now by virtue of all the misses that have come out. Those anchored mini jacks really catching both of them off guard going into this last sliver of chart. And when all is said and done, it looks like, oh, this is gonna come down to the wire. Cannot afford to drop a singular 300 here this late on. It's going to come down to the last
I don't know who wins this.
Oh
that
my
was
goodness,
so
it is
close.
343 points, the difference between the two. And Sky, despite the fact they had almost, what, twice as many 200s, able to pull it out by the tiniest of margins and take the win over Lycanroc 5-1.
I believe Lycanroc on that anchor got 2 or 3 misses compared to Sky's only like 1 or 2, and that was really the difference maker here. If Lycanroc was able to even just get a 50 or something else, I believe they would have actually had that point. But
oh, for sure.
Here, instead, we'll see Sky taking the match and going into the second round of losers against who it looks like ERA Jungle. So the first map of this little block, or match in this little block, is actually going to be who we'll be seeing play.
Yeah, and to keep you guys updated with the other match, it is currently 4-1 in favor of Imperial for the moment here. Looks like they are in between picks. Imperial making it 4-2 off the back of puberty dysmorphia or dysthymia, 986 to 973. So we'll see if we can get you guys into that match as it starts to finish up here.
Yes, and it looks like we will be able to here. Moving in, already starting here. Into on edge, this is most likely going to be Maxtulini, or I believe this is Maxtulini's pick here. Just as a recap, the bans were LN1 and Ro16. So as soon as we can get that set up, we'll get that for you.
Yeah, so all eyes here on edge here. An opportunity for Max to try and close this gap on Imperial. An opportunity to close this match out in general.
Yeah, we've been seeing quite a few, I guess, decisive victories on this map, just off of misses in Maxtulini. Looking like they're very, very comfortable on this map, getting a 200 on one of the little LN notes, but really, they've just been playing super, super well on these the rice patterns all around, just keeping their accuracy above Imperials here. No misses coming out on this first set of bursts, though.
Yeah, starting to climb up in terms of accuracy. They were both hovering around that 99.3 mark. But as I say that, Max starting to fall back down once again. Any semblance of a lead now eliminated and actually turning in favor of Imperial for the moment here. It is a very precarious lead, and Imperial finds the drop going into the last third of the chart. That one burst catching them out here. That being said, Maxtulini trades it back in terms of accuracy. So Imperial with the accuracy lead to Maxtulini with the combo advantage for the moment.
Yeah, Maxtulini desperately needs to continue to hold this combo in this last section of bursts if they want to continue to win this map and have a chance to get to breakpoint. But as I'm saying, this Maxtulini getting 200s is slowly switching the lead over to Imperial, but I don't think it's close enough to call. Oh, it was just barely by 300 points.
Another 300-point victory, Sunapple. I don't think I can handle this many close calls, despite the fact that Maxtulini was able to hold on to the FC. It wasn't going to be enough, and Imperial, despite the drop, able to hang on just enough to take the victory and knocking Maxtulini out of the North American Mania tournament to advance to the second half of round of 16. And we have the match set. It is going to be Sky versus Imperial.
Oh, okay, so I was wrong about the last one. Yes, so I guess both these matches happen at the exact same time, luckily. I think this one is going to be very, very interesting to see, judging off of how both players did play. Both players are quite LN oriented, so it's going to be a battle of who's going to be able to continue to hold their dominance in LN. But with that being said, that's it for our little blog. We'll be seeing you all in 19 minutes for Seth versus Robert.
Yep, so definitely stay tuned. Gonna bring the stream down, swap streamers around, get a bit of a breather before we continue on with this super block for Saturday. Take care, y'all.
Goodbye.